Well, good afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boost Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, this literally does not work. So Will McCray is going to be talking about the draft here, actually on 105.3 The Fan, in a few minutes, and we're going to see what his thoughts are on this draft. Now, the interesting thing that we have to think about here is last year's draft was incredible. When you think about getting CeeDee Lamb, getting Gallimore, getting Diggs, getting Tyler Baddish, that was a great draft. Now, this year we had more draft picks than I think we've ever had since, of course, they reduced it to 7 draft picks. We're not going back to the 70s, back when they had like 14, 15, 50 rounds in the draft. We'll see if we can get a little insight from Will McCray and his thoughts. Some backlash has kind of happened when you start thinking about a few of the draft picks like Taco Charlton and stuff. This draft could be the one that could really set up Will McClay's legacy. So hold on tight, and he'll be starting hopefully in a few minutes.
Of the Fan is brought to you by Rubin and Associates. If you're drowning in debt, call our guy Mark Rubin at 1-800-LAWYERS. Mark will talk to you personally. Take control of your debt, eliminate your stress, and allow you to live life again. It starts with a simple, confidential phone call to Mark Rubin. Rubin and Associates at 1-800-LAWYERS. Good afternoon, Will. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great, thanks. And we're excited to see these guys on the field getting into OTAs and camp. How satisfied were you with the plan that came together?
Very satisfied because it was a different year of work from what we're accustomed to, and the way the guys jumped in from a scouting standpoint and did their jobs and went above and beyond, then putting the board together, working with the coaches and figuring it out, and then just seeing how it all panned out. Now we get, like you said, we get to see them on the field and see what we got.
Will, you guys got a couple of giant cornerbacks, and it feels like that's sort of a Dan Quinn imprint. How does that work leading up to the draft versus conversations when you're about to actually make working with those coaches?
Yeah, well, it's the process started right after the season and kind of going into, because we're trying to figure out if we were going to have a combine, and the way all those things came out from COVID stuff. Well, getting the opportunity to work with the coaches and find out with the new scheme or different defensive coordinator what we were going to be trying to do and what he valued most, and then what that's in the draft pool and even in free agency, what fit kind of some of the parameters that he was looking for and the staff were looking for. That was the big thing, is spending time with them and learning them. And every year, or every different coach staff, they have these little things that they want, they like, they don't like, and learning those and putting together based on our values as football players. And then
question, but when you have, like, last year's defensive coordinator was only here for 1 year. So when coaches have that sort of input and you're trying to get guys that they want, as opposed to like Mike McCarthy has talked about before with the players over scheme, is that worrisome in any way to be kind of getting players for a guy and you never know how long that's going to last?
No, I think, you have to consistently, as an organization, you gotta have a barometer as to what starting and winning NFL players are, and put your board there based on that. And we all know it's a big, strong, fast, athletic league. And I think if you, kind of look at things that way, you have an opportunity to be more right than wrong and not changing all the time. So, but when the coach says he wants a guy to play a certain technique, there comes the football coach side of it. And then the scout side of it is, well, why does this guy play this technique better? Is it because of length? Is it because of leverage? Is it because of whatever? And try and put those pieces together and say what players fit the most at what value.
Will, did you feel like the draft gods gave you a gift with Jabril Cox there at 115? I know a lot of people had him probably going a lot higher than that. Did you have to sit there and sweat that one out?
Yeah, we kind of sweated it out a little bit. He was a guy that when we came into the off season and we're thinking about things and how you continue to improve the defense and looking at the landscape of how offenses are played now. There's a lot of it's a space game, and then there's a lot of tight ends and big receivers, slot type stuff that you have to cover in the way that the game is played. And so he's shown the ability to be able to do those things. So when it came down, we were going through the process. He was a guy that, I thought fit that bill, and several others did. And then, when he was sitting there, I said, we got to go do that. It's the right time.
It's Will McCray here with you on 105.3 The Fan. Okay, what was it like going through the first draft here with Dan Quinn and getting his perspective on things?
It was great. Dan and I got to hit the road a few times together, so I got to form we call each other the Roaddog at the beginning of it, and got some time to spend some individual time with him and hear his philosophies on players, on schemes, on his experience in Atlanta and the different places that he's been, and gain some insight into not only what kind of player he likes and why he likes certain types of players, with his background and things that he's done. So it's been great, and just sitting around him and watching the staff come together and the way that they are putting it together with the direction of Mike, but also Dan, it's been a great experience.
Well, I love that we got to hear from Dan Quinn over the weekend, and I think getting his perspective helps a lot of people understand different things. With the first pick, Micah Parsons at 12, we generally expect if you're picked that high, you're going to start, you're going to play the majority of the snaps. Do you guys have a feel for how that looks with Van Der Esch and Smith and Keanu Neal?
No, I think, we got them all here, and they're going to figure out how to make it work. I think that's a good problem to have is have talented guys and figure out how to get them all on the field together, and I think they have a good plan for it. I won't divulge that to you guys right now, but there's a way that you can do that and use the talents of everybody.
Will, I think one of my favorite picks you made in day 3 was Quentin Bohannon, and when you watch that Kentucky tape and you see that number 95, it never turns. It always stays square along the line of scrimmage. Is this one of those guys? I mean, I don't remember ever having a guy that big on this organization playing for you guys like that.
I think that we've been around each other for a while, so we see things the same on a lot. And you turn on the Kentucky tape, and that was the big, strong, long, athletic guy that played in the middle against the best competition. And we wanted to get bigger there in order to play run defense, but also affect the passer. You need guys that can do it, that can get you to third down in those passing situations. And a young player with his skill set and still being able to grow and develop, you think there's some athletic traits in there for him to be able to pass rush. Plus, he's big, strong. He's got 34-inch arms, which affects the A-gaps, which affects the passing lanes. He was a guy that was interesting to how we're going to build the defense.
Will McCray here with you on The Fan. Now, Will, with Josh Ball, it's a player we'd love to know more about as far as what helped you guys get comfortable with him, considering he, seemed to struggle with the relationship there at the university.
Yeah, I mean, what we did was we did our homework. We passed it through. We got the information that everybody else had. We looked at the situation at Florida State and we talked to people there. We've visited with people at Marshall, and spent time digging through it and spending time with the player to find out what the deal was. We gave it to our legal people. So we felt comfortable with all of the work that we had done on who the kid was and what he was all about, and as well as watching the tape and what he could do. He has the ability to play left tackle, right tackle. There weren't very many offensive linemen in this draft that had the measurables, the ideal measurables to play tackle, as well as the ability to play it physically with his feet and with his bend and all that other stuff. So we were comfortable with the person before we started talking about the football player. We knew all of the issues that everybody else did. And one of the things that Jerry said in the press conference that I really applaud him for and staying true to is everybody deserves a second chance if they have earned that second chance. And I think this kid has earned the
especially
opportunity
if they can
to
play
do that.
football.
I think about all the things that all of us have done when we were young, maybe not to the level or extent that this may have gotten to, but we make mistakes, we learn from them, and we grow.
So, Will, there's a video of Howie Roseman and the Eagles making a pick, and Tom Donahoe, the senior director of player personnel, clearly did not like the pick. were there any picks in this draft that would be sort of your fist pump guy when they took him and you were like, yes, this one, that's my guy?
When we picked him?
Yeah. Is there any of them where your reaction would have been absolutely, yes, nailed it. That's my guy right there.
I think all 11 of them. I'm going to put my name and stamp on all 11 of them because I got, I'm in charge of putting the board together and listening to the scouts and putting it all together. We do it collectively, but if they're on the board, there's something about them that fits us and that we're excited about. So I'm excited about all of them.
I'll pat you on the back on that Stanford receiver. I think you got a guy with clutch genes there, man. That kid, when you watch him on tape, it seems like he makes every single play, Will.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that, you look at the physical measurables and you say, boy, there's something there. Because, again, we're always looking – if you look at everybody's draft, they're always looking for the big athletic guy with the high, athletic spark score or whatever. But then they have to be able to play football. And you see his measurables and you see him play and you see him, as you said, Brian, being a clutch guy for them. And that he's just got this it about him as a player, and he hadn't achieved his full ceiling yet. So I'm excited to get him with our offense and with Coach Henry, who I've been around for a couple of years, who does an incredible job with receivers, making them better. So if you got a guy with a high level of skill and talent and you need, the right stuff to be able to refine that and grow and get better, I'm really excited about his opportunities to help us moving down the line too.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at San Francisco, and you stole them from him. And so he was like, so tip of the cap for you for being ahead of the game on that one.
We had about 4 or 5. I had about 4 or 5 teams.
Good player. That is a good player.
Contact me afterwards, and they were like, damn, we were going to go after him.
Yeah.
Will, should we expect a little interest maybe in the recently released Jeff Heath?
We'll look at it and address the issue as it comes. I mean, we know Jeff, and Jeff's done great things for us, and he went to Oakland and had a great season. But we're going to go through and look at what we have on the roster, and we're going to look at every opportunity to improve as if it makes sense.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up with you in Oxnard Expose.
Thanks, fellas.
Salute. There he goes, the great Will McCray here with you, VP of Player Person.
Okay, interesting couple things. Jeff Heath, they'll investigate Jeff Heath and see where it goes with that. But the main things that they talked about, him and his Roaddog, Dan Quinn, they actually went on scouting trips together where they could talk about what they were looking for. And, of course, we've heard so much about body type. The Cowboys, to a fault, believe that a player – and sometimes this will do you a disservice because we looked at Taco Charlton and said, that's the body type we're looking. We understand he's raw, but he's got the length that we like and everything else and that fast first step. And they looked at a guy that TJ Watt, who was picked right after him, and said he doesn't have the body type. Sometimes you've got to look beyond just the body type, but I understand the philosophy that they have is, we like that length, we like the long arms for separation, and I like the fact that Quentin Bohannon, the Bohemian Beast, that they looked at him and said, and this does me great to hear them say, A-gaps. They look at him lining up over the center and taking care of the A-gaps. The A-gaps are the gaps between the guard and the center. They're not talking about him being a tackle. They're talking about being head up, shaded a little to the left, shaded a little to the right. But he is that center guy. He will be in the middle of the field. And looking at him as a bigger body and very strong, he's able to keep his shoulders and things squared up in the hole and be able to fight pressure as well as take on the double teams, that they're looking at this saying from, we were ass in the middle of the field. And that's why you see a guy like Antoine Woods that they moved on from. And the thing, I was sitting here actually looking at the players that we kept. We've actually released 7 players right now, saving $5.8 million. Antoine Woods, of course, is the big name on there at $2.1 million. But when you think this is part of Stephen Jones, the money miser, you look at this from the standpoint of that's $6 million more right there that we have to work with, getting rid of other players. And when you think that a guy like Brett Urban is only 1.2 million versus say Antoine Woods 2.1, you just saved right there, over $750,000, and $750,000 here, $750,000 there adds up. Don't know what they're going to use that money for, but before the cuts, the Cowboys had, I believe, about $7.5 million in cap space. After those cuts, they'll have about $14 million. So that's enough money to sign their rookies. And of course, if they did want other money to try and sign anybody else, they can do some restructuring of contracts. So that's what we got right for you guys right now. I will be back later on from the outside set this evening, of course, to do our Cowboys evening update on everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Mark Holmes, and, well, I got to get back to the shop because I got a lot of racks and things for you guys to do, and I'll see you soon.